What's up, guys? Before I get started on this video, I just want to let you guys know that this weekend only, Saturday, Sunday, the 8th and the 9th, is on motionautotv.com. We are giving away cash in orders. So every dollar you spend on motionautotv.com gets you entered for a chance to win not only our Civic, but also gives you the opportunity to get between $1 and $100 in your order. So again, every order placed will get at least $1, but potentially up to $100. So yeah, if you guys haven't got entered in for the Civic, it is in and soon, 15th, but let's get into today's video. Back to the channel, and today we are messing with the Civic again. So it kind of was on the back burner for a couple days because we went out to Omaha, Nebraska, where we took the 2JZ Mustang and K24 all-wheel drive Civic. We got some really cool races in with that, but now we are back here, and it's time to buckle down. We got to finish this thing because the giveaway is actually ending really soon. August 15th. It's coming up really quick. So if you guys haven't got yourselves entered, again, motionautotv.com. But one of the things that we're actually doing right now is we have the B16 engine right here, and obviously the tranny. Before we go ahead and put the engine back in, because I painted the engine bay. So last week before we left for the trip, I painted the engine bay, got it all pretty. Decided it was easier to just pull the engine and stuff out of it. And so now we're gonna go ahead and pull off this transmission and see what kind of clutch is in here. But I have a brand new competition clutch, and Nick actually had this. He was gonna put this in it because he wasn't gonna turbo it or anything. So he included this, but since it is going turbo, I want to throw a fresh 6-puck disc in it, which this will help it kind of grab a little bit harder and not slip. So it actually already has a 6-puck clutch in it, and it looks like a lightweight flywheel that was kind of put in here recently. So we're gonna go ahead and pull off the tranny, see what's in there, and then swap in this other clutch. We got this thing off of here. This looks like, is that a crack in there?
That's what I looked at. I thought at first, but no, it's just something.
A little bit, but this thing, so the pressure plate has a ton of ridges in it. Like, you could just feel it. And so they basically transferred over to this flywheel. So this is a little bit of a lightweight flywheel right here. Yeah, you can see it was actually getting into the rivets. So that thing was completely done. And it wasn't slipping or anything like that, but who knows how it was treated, and it obviously does look like a lot cheaper of a clutch. So we're gonna go ahead and buzz this guy off, and since it does have some ridges in it, we're gonna go ahead and send that off to the flywheel, basically to have it machined real quick, just to make it basically resurface the flywheel, so it's a brand new mating surface, so we don't have any issues with this new clutch slipping on it. Alright, so while Garrett is running and grabbing that, or getting that flywheel resurfaced, I went ahead and ordered a rear main seal for it. I should be able to pick that up here in a little bit, as well as the rear axles, or the front axles and stuff, because we're doing all new axles in it as well. So while I'm waiting for that, we are actually going to be swapping the turbo off of the 2JZ Mustang onto the Civic, and I'm actually going to be taking this turbo that was on the Civic, previously the yellow Civic, and I'm going to be putting it on the Mustang. So we have that turbo right here. So I'm basically going to be putting a Garrett Gtx3076r Gen II on the B16, and I'm going to be putting a Gtx3582r with an 82AR Gen II onto the Mustang. So I basically had 3582 on this engine before with the 82AR exhaust housing, and we ended up putting a smaller turbo on it just to kind of see how it would be with having such a small turbo on, I guess, a larger displacement engine. And it honestly worked great, and this thing feels like a V8, and I'm almost kind of scared to pull the turbo off of it to lose some of that bottom end kind of grunt and stuff off of it. because this thing actually does spool really fast and hits full boost at like 3,000 RPMs, or a little bit later than that. I don't know. We'd have to look at the dyno chart. But overall, I think putting a bigger turbo on it will help a little bit more for the top end, to where we could run those higher boost pressures with less back pressure, so we could actually make more top end power with it. And that'll help with you know, back pressures and stuff too. So I think that's gonna be cool. So I'm gonna go ahead, move the Mustang over here. So you guys wanna hear that 3076 on the JZ for the last time, now's your freaking chance. All right guys, so Garrett just got back. So same day service from a local machine shop, right?
Yeah.
Look at that thing. That thing's brand freaking new.
Had to pull a little favor to get it, but
That's awesome. Yeah, that's nice. That means that we could probably turbo this thing in a day now.
seems like
Well, probably tomorrow or the next day, because I got to go pick up some other parts for another adventure that I'm doing. So new rear main seal is going in right now. We're going to clean up all that stuff and then basically slap together the new clutch and get the transmission and everything bolted onto it, as well as you can see, got some brand new axles over here as well. So pretty stoked about that. This thing's gonna come together and it's not gonna leak, and it's not gonna have a slipping clutch. It's gonna have new axles to not flick grease everywhere, and all the things. All right guys, ran out of time working on this thing yesterday, but we got the engine training back together. So we got the Mustang over here, and I just kind of wanted to show you guys a little bit of a difference in the turbos. So 3076 Gen 2 and 3582 Gen 2. So this has a 58 millimeter compressor inducer, and this has a 66 millimeter compressor inducer. So what's actually crazy though is this one looks really big compared to this, but this thing will flow 750 horse at the crankshaft, and the 35 will actually flow close to 900 at the crankshaft. So pretty nuts that you know, this being such, you know, technically a small turbo flows that much. But one of the reasons why I'm like why we're not putting like the 3582 or something like that on the B16 is just obviously because it's B16, it's a 1.6 liter versus the JZ, which is a 3 liter. So I'm gonna keep the AR exhaust housing and everything the same on it, and that should kind of delay the spool. I'm like, if you put like a small turbo on there, like a T25 or something like that, and you have the boost come in really soon, that's when you kind of hurt the rods and stuff. But if you have a little bit bigger size turbo, obviously I think this 3076 is going to be about perfect, but that'll basically kind of delay the spool, so it doesn't spool super fast, and it brings in that power later, and it's really efficient in the top end where Hondas like to live anyhow. so that way you don't spit the rods or anything out of it. So as of right now, the engine is going to stay stock in this car, and should be able to make about 350 horse and make a ton of really cool noises, and it should be a really cool fun street car for one of you guys. So I'm talking about the Civic wise. And with the Mustang, basically the plans are to actually turn it up a little bit more. We made, I think it was 580 horse and 630 torque with this turbo. When we were running it on Drift Week, we basically made 500 horse and 550 torque with it on pump gas, and then when we came back, we put it on E85 and turned it up a little bit. So I'm excited to kind of play with this one a little bit more now that we actually have this thing on E85. And kind of depending on what we do with Drift Week, I might end up putting a flex fuel sensor in here and kind of blend in the boost tables and blend in the timing and fuel tables and doing all that stuff, to where if we do get in a situation, we don't have to rely on having E85. But if we do have E85, then we could actually have it kind of automatically turn everything up and down. So I'm going to go ahead and pull off this housing right there, basically bolt that up to it. That'll make it really easy to get everything off and on in there, and then we could get everything clocked with the turbo. And then shortly after we do that, I'm going to get the engine back up in the Civic and hopefully get that thing basically running today. Alright guys, so hopping back over to the B16 in the Civic. Garrett's gonna go ahead and clean up some of this wiring real quick, because it was actually kind of routed up underneath here, and it's actually supposed to go above kind of the intake manifold. It has these like little tabs and stuff where it's actually supposed to sit, and these little clips right here where that stuff is supposed to sit. So one of the other things, since this engine is going to be turboed, is we have this little fitting right here, and as you can see, right next to the oil filter, there is an factory oil pressure sensor. So we're gonna go ahead and unthread that, thread this in right here, and basically replace this little fitting right there on the back with the factory oil pressure sensor, so that's still in there. And then we'll have this little kind of 90-degree going straight up, and that's where we'll actually have our oil feed pressure thing. So I am gonna try to do this whole thing in one day, but that's probably only cheating us like 10-15 minutes. So when we actually do turbo this thing in today, that'll kind of be like a little pre thing, but you know, should be all right. New turbo on there. Take it for a little drive. And then you're good. That was 12 pounds. That's pretty good for 12 pounds. So Mustang is back up and ripping. Got a coolant bled, got everything all hooked up with the turbo stuff, and you can see we took it for a rip. Basically hit like 23 pounds. It doesn't hit full boost at like 33 or 3,500 RPMs like the 3076 did, but it still feels really, really good, and I'm pretty used to that turbo anyhow. So turbo will actually give us a lot of room to grow and kind of stretch our legs to where we could actually make, 600 plus horse without worrying about like over spinning it or overflowing it or putting too much back pressure into the actual engine. So getting the harness cleaned up over here for this guy. Got some new loom stuff, make it look a little bit prettier going into the cab, and kind of got everything all kind of tucked up underneath there where it needs to be. And then you can see we went ahead and put that oil feed line going up right there. So we'll go ahead and now pretty much all we need to do is throw the starter on it, roll it up underneath the car after we hook up some of the brake lines and some of the other little stuff like that, and should be able to start smashing this thing back in there, hook up the axles, and maybe even fire it up, and make sure she still runs NA, because she's getting ready to get some turbo stuff soon. Alright guys, so engine is back in Civic. Obviously you've seen us hooking up a bunch of stuff, getting the motor mounts hooked back up in here, got the fresh axles in, and then I installed a upper camber kit, or basically an upper control arm that allows you to adjust the camber and stuff on it. I have basically all the rear suspension arms, camber kit and stuff for that as well. But yeah, primarily just focused on a bunch of little stuff up here. Really tidied up the wiring harness back up underneath the intake manifold. Got that in some nice loom, got it all tucked up underneath here. So this car, I'm not really like going crazy like trying to wire tuck the harnesses or anything like that. It's basically going to be like a nice clean, OEM brackets, OEM little things like you can see right here, all this stuff that goes up to like the battery. If it's going to be a show car or something like that, which I mean the car is really, really clean, and it probably could be a show car. So somebody could eventually do, that if whoever wins it and they decide to do that. But for now, I just kind of rather have it like OEM reliability. The harness on my Civic is tucked, and it's just kind of a pain in the butt to work around stuff, and I almost just wish it was all kind of stock. But yeah, back in the Civic, she's pretty much ready to go for tomorrow. So tomorrow, we're going to try to turbo this thing in one day. And I know it's easy to like bolt a turbo manifold on there and start it, but kind of the goal with that whole video is to basically bolt the turbo manifold on it, do the turbo drain going into the oil, talk about a lot of that stuff, hook up the intercooler, make a custom downpipe, make a custom wastegate recirculating thing, hook up the ECU, hook up some sensors, injectors, all that type of stuff, and just kind of go through that whole process with you guys, and kind of show you guys what it takes to turbo a car from scratch. And honestly, like these Civics, a lot of people are like, why are you guys giving away a Civic? People are giving away Lamborghinis and stuff. And realistically, it's not realistic for somebody to own a Lamborghini. I owned the R8 for a while, and just everything with it is expensive, and it's an expensive car. Taxes, insurance, maintenance, all that stuff, as well as like where are you even gonna park that freaking thing? Like I lived on still live on a dirt road, and it was one of those things. I wish I just had like a better house, and I wish I had the lifestyle to fit an R8 versus just having an R8. So I think a Civic is a super fun car to kind of start with. And I feel like a lot of you guys have actually started with these things and drove these things in high school, or had a little project car, or you've always wanted one, but you've never been able to actually find a clean one. And now's your chance, guys. So this weekend, basically Saturday and Sunday, we are doing cash in orders. So every order placed on motionautotv.com is going to get a random amount of cash between $1 and $100, but every single order placed will get a dollar amount in it, or they'll get at least $1 in it, basically. So if you guys are interested in that, be sure to head over to motionautotv.com and get yourself entered for a chance to win this thing. Super stoked. It's coming together really quick, and the giveaway does end on the 15th. So it's actually coming a lot faster than I thought. I thought I had more time to kind of finish this thing, and then I'm looking at my watch. I'm like, oh, it's we're getting close. So we're basically there. You can see we got the turbo manifold, turbo, and everything kind of almost ready to go. Got my little box of parts over there, and the 2JZ Mustang is now continues to rip with its little bit bigger turbo. So that is going to be it for this video, guys. I really appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you later.